increase of the legal immigrants?
So currently the United States admits about 1 million people through legal permanent residence each year. Many of those people, as I said, were already living in the United States, some an undocumented status. And then recent estimates suggest that the flow of undocumented immigrants is about that high as well. One question I've been asked before is, well, why do people not just get legal papers? And it kind of surprised me that question was even asked, but many people don't realize that it's not easy to get legal papers to come to the United States, that there are long waiting lists from some countries, even if you qualify for legal admission. And then, of course, many people, United States immigration policy is primarily a family-based policy, and many people who don't have family members have no legal channel for coming into the United States, and so they choose to come as undocumented or illegal immigrants.
If you have, I see that you probably have another question, but if you could maybe hold that until afterwards.
It could be displaced at the same time, and that is, I think, a closer version of what's actually happening out there than Dr. Borhoff.
Yeah, labor migration in Europe under the European Union model is something that I think we ought to look at, because what it does is it allows people within the whatever it is, 15 or 17 member nations to easily go across borders and bring their families to work, and if they change their mind, that they can go back as well. And without sounding like a guest worker proponent, which there's certain days I wake up when I'm actually in favor of a guest worker program, but not today, I don't think. And the problem with visa systems generally is that there are many, many people, low wage and high skilled, that actually don't want to live in the United States. They just want to, not permanently, not 12 months a year. They really want to come and work and go back to their other country and say, and we don't actually have a visa system that permits that. And whatever you want to call it, Hans referred to this earlier, we've ended the pattern, at least from Mexico, of circularity that existed before 1996, and because there were onerous laws that were passed in 1996, and Operation Gatekeeper, all that made it difficult for people to go back, and then the September 11th enforcement policies made it even harder for people to come and go from the United States under the system that for centuries, well, for generations had existed. We've ended that circularity, which was done informally through an undocumented system. And in its place, that's what I'm saying, we actually would be smarter to think of a way that would permit that kind of circularity. It's not something that we should be afraid of. We can figure this out. It's just that that's not a type of visa that we've ever thought of having before.
Next question.
Thank you so much for a very interesting program this afternoon. This winter, while there was a Seattle attorney who wrote an article in the Washington State Bar News, she had immigrated from Mexico with her father as a child and had gone back to visit her village in Mexico last year. She said what she found was that there were no men in the village except for little children and old men. Would you comment on the impact this may have on Mexico long term?
Well, I'll give one answer. I'll try to be brief. One of the reasons that I don't think I'm in favor of open borders, or the politically correct term, I guess, is called migration without borders. That's what some internationalists, that's the term they use, is because while I don't think that if we had open borders, I don't think that we would see all these, a floodgate of Mexicans, because we're not going to do that, I don't think, without some smart investments. And the way Eastern Europe did it, the European Union did it, was through education investments and infrastructure investments. I am concerned. I would be, in spite of all that, I would be concerned that that Mexico would be hurting if it lost a lot of its able-bodied workers. And so, for that reason, it would take a lot for me to be convinced for open borders. I'm open to the idea because I don't like, as I said earlier, I don't think the economics justify the opposition, and I don't like the racial overtones. I don't like the idea of the way we're enforcing the immigration laws now, but because of what I just said, I wouldn't want to set up a system where Mexico lost so many able-bodied workers, because I think that Mexico needs its workers if it's going to get on its feet. And it's a sort of a version, not of brain drain so much, but of worker drain that Mexico needs.
We'll accept